Hey everybody, welcome to the Professional Lovers channel. I am Patty.
And I'm Al. And we are the Professional Lovers.
See how we did that little switch tonight? We thought we'd mix it up a little bit. But yes, we're the Professional Lovers, married 27 years. Glad that you're joining us. We have, throughout our marriage, been privileged to facilitate relationships. So if you're looking for the how-tos of creating a strong relationship, we're going to give you some of that as we talk about Married at First Sight.
Mm-hmm.
And as we share tips from our book, Becoming a Professional Lover. And so hopefully after you hear what we've got to share, you'll find it useful. You'll like the channel. You'll subscribe to the channel. You'll share the channel with other people who might be looking for the same thing. So let's get started. And we're going to start with Clara and Ryan, who didn't have very much drama in tonight's episode.
Actually, some rather normal activity.
Yeah.
I mean, in dealing with all that went on, their interaction, their comments were responsible and respectful.
Yeah. And so the only thing that we really saw, the issue that they talked about that gave Clara a little pause for concern, is the fact that she seems to fall in love easily. Mm-hmm. And she says that she has fallen in love many times. Mm-hmm. Whereas Ryan says
he's never told anyone that he loved them.
And he's never been in love, he feels.
Yeah.
So he's never been in love and has never told anybody that he loved them because his parents taught him that love means something special and can be overused.
True. That it's
oversaid.
Right. It's a loosely used word nowadays.
Right. Trivialized.
Yeah.
And so one tip that we think fits what they were talking about from our book is get to know how your spouse perceives love. Mm-hmm. Because it's very evident that Clara and Ryan perceive love
differently.
Right.
Yeah.
And as long as they don't know how the other perceives love, then it will be hard to get on the same page. Mm-hmm. Right now, she's worried that because he's never loved or said, I love you, that could be
a hindrance.
Right. A
hindrance to the progression.
Right. Right.
You know, and it may be a situation where he just gives it a certain respect that he does not
throw it around.
Throw it out there.
Right.
Yeah. He doesn't put it out there. He never said he didn't have feelings for. He didn't care about the people or the women that he had been with.
Right.
But, to love them, he just felt that word, that verb is a little different in his way of expressing it verbally versus his acting upon it.
Yeah. So we've seen this in past seasons. Mm-hmm. Where, like with Austin and, DC, the DC season. Yeah. Austin and, I can't remember Austin's wife's name.
Oops.
Anyway, yeah. She had that issue as well.
Right.
But, we don't put a lot of stock in hearing it initially. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I'm sure that'll work itself out because on all the other fronts right now, they're feeling great.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
All right. So Briana and Vincent had a little issue with her bossiness.
Yeah.
Now he's heard this from day one.
You're right.
At the wedding. Mm-hmm. When the family says, we want you to know that, and that's all they talk about. But she's bossy.
She's beautiful and she's bossy. She's everything and she's bossy.
So I think he got a little taste of that. Mm-hmm. Because she's very structured and very, on time. And she was talking about how when they were getting ready to meet up with, she with the girls, he with the guys, that he was kind of taking his time.
Yeah.
He's more relaxed.
Relaxing,
He's on his phone.
Hanging out.
And she's getting uptight.
Yeah.
Because he's
you
not.
only got 15 minutes.
Yeah. And I know that for people who are planners and people who are structured and regimented,
which is a much better word than rigid.
Regimented.
Either one.
Yes.
Structured or regimented is better than rigid.
Okay.
Although they all mean the same thing.
Yeah, they all kind of mean the same thing.
But just in communicating and choosing your words makes a difference.
Yeah, true.
And we'll get into that.
We're going to talk about that toward the end because that's going to take up the rest of the time. But yeah, so you have to be careful not to sound like somebody's mom.
Yeah.
Your husband doesn't want you to be his mom.
Yeah, I don't need to be disciplined.
And told that, you need to get a move on. Unless you're like being late for a really
something important, and
scheduled doctor's appointment, church,
interview.
Okay, yeah, you may need to give some gentle nudging, but recreational activity with the guys, no. So, and what I liked is when they talked about it after the simulated skydiving, and she gave some recognition of, okay, if I'm bossy, I definitely don't want to be like that with my husband. So I'm going to have to find a way to adjust with that.
Yeah.
A couple of things about that, their conversation after the fun. In our book, we talk about listen to each other. And part of listening involves timing.
Very much.
And when you're talking about sensitive issues, especially when you're talking about an issue that issues that they have with each other, you want to make sure that your timing is good.
True. It's already a sensitive situation.
Right.
So you don't want to compound the situation by just bringing it up at an inopportune time just because you think it needs to be out there.
Like when you're already fighting.
Yeah.
Or when there's already tension.
Exactly.
And so, saving some sensitive issues for after having fun where the atmosphere is light and jovial.
Or just less stressful, because even though they indicated that they addressed a particular issue after they had done the skydiving simulation, they had also had a previous conversation
without the cameras
at bedtime after the cameras were gone.
And it was precipitated by her saying, "You annoyed me."
Yeah. Click.
And then she turned over and turned the light off. And I was like, oh.
You don't leave it like that.
Oh, I know you didn't just leave it like that. Because that would not have been
timing.
Positive. And so we're glad to know that
they had
a discussion about it without the cameras there.
In the dark.
But that's also the other part to the listening is how you say something.
True.
When you're talking about something that your spouse does that annoys you or, yes, you want to be open about it, but how you address it, you need to address it in a way that does not automatically put them on the defensive.
Right, because again, the words, the content may be spot on, but your delivery has an enormous impact of how a person receives what you're trying to say.
Enormous.
It's the difference between I love you and I love you today.
Okay.
I mean, same words, but said totally differently. And again, I'm just trying to, do something silly. But again,
delivery is important.
Huge.
And you really need to practice coming from using I statements.
Yeah.
Not you, you annoyed me.
You made me, or you made me feel. No, you didn't make me feel. From what you said, I felt a certain way. And hearing that, I felt a certain way.
And the idea being that nobody can tell you that how you feel is wrong.
Right.
Because that's how you
That's
feel.
your feelings.
I was annoyed from, feeling as though time was not being considered.
Right. It made me feel a certain way.
Now, that's a better opening to, you annoyed me today.
Ooh.
The minute you say, you did this, that person is going to turn off, get defensive, and hear nothing else after that because they're busy thinking about how they're going to defend themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what usually happens.
Because they feel attacked.
Right.
That I did say, because it appears or it's received as if you had done something to them intentionally.
Yeah.
You made me feel, or you did this and you did that. And I'm like, well, how you took it is how you took it. But that's not how I was putting it out there. But they don't know that because that's their feelings that's making them feel that way.
Right. So that takes practice. And hopefully they'll get that little tidbit from the experts if they don't work it out themselves.
Yes.
Moving on to Haley and Jacob. Their age difference was really showing tonight.
Yeah.
As well as it appeared that she keeps falling back on this idea of, well, I've been single for 7 years and I don't know how to be in a relationship. And I'm used to doing what I want to do when I want to do it, not having to ask anybody, tell anybody, check in with anybody. Okay, I get that. I was single for 31 years.
That's what you used to be. That you're not that anymore.
Okay.
You're married now.
And I understand independence. Right. I was independent.
Yeah, you still are.
Still am independent. But I also know how to be
a partner. We're together. But again, I don't erase her independence. Being together doesn't erase your independence, but you do compromise in taking into consideration that your life now is not only your own. You're sharing it with someone else.
And again, this makes me, and we've said this in past seasons, that people who apply for Married at First Sight should know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the 12th season. So I'm sure you've watched it. So this is not like brand new for you. You're getting married. And so that means you're giving up your singleness. Not your independence, but your singleness. And so and you cannot have forgotten completely how to exist in a relationship.
True.
And that's what she comes across as though she has forgotten what it means to be in a relationship. The other thing that I found interesting is finding out that they've had sex.
Yeah. And
usually sex creates a bond if you're married. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're married, it tends to create a bond.
True.
Right? Because it's not just hooking up.
Right.
And it's not just recreational sex.
True. And sex usually has a little deeper meaning for women than it does for men.
Especially when you're married.
Yeah.
So to find out that she, after having sex, started pulling away from him.
Yeah. Withdrew. I mean.
That's what it suggests is that it didn't do anything for her. And maybe she didn't feel the connection. Because then something happened, and unfortunately our satellite started acting up because we're having snow and rain, and we missed a little bit of something that happened between them. But we caught his narrative when he talked about her telling him there was going to be a girls' night out. I guess the last night. He was cool with that. He goes to get something to eat. He rounds the corner and finds out that he's the only one missing from all the group being there. And he feels like he's been lied to.
And basically, it was like once he turned the corner everybody else kind of dispersed.
Yeah.
So that made him feel a certain kind of way. It made him feel as if it was intentional, that he was not supposed to be there.
Right.
Which means that
with her,
she did not divulge totally what she wanted to take place that evening.
Yeah. And so now that has created a whole different dynamic in how he sees her and how he sees them. Yeah. And I can't say that I blame him.
Yeah, there's a trust factor there. And if you don't have trust, you don't have anything.
And, this idea, another tip talks about settling your differences by meeting each other's needs. Mm-hmm. I think that's what he was trying to do when he's talking to her about, her comfort level with physical intimacy.
Mm-hmm. Are you comfortable holding hands, or
because he can't read
PDAs
her.
or whatever, right? Because he felt that he could not read her. Suddenly, I mean, it was a situation as they were
this is after
toward
sex,
each other, and and then suddenly it was like, stop,
Yeah.
And
So, little tension there, and we'll see how that plays itself out next week. Our next couple, Virginia and Erik, they were very interesting tonight because for the first time we saw Erik drunk.
He's a pilot. He don't drink.
Dude was drunk, couldn't keep his eyes open, slurring his words.
What did he call them? Chocolate what?
I forgot what he said.
Was it chocolate drunk? I don't know. He said something. He was.
Who, Chris?
No, actually.
Who was it?
No.
I forget.
Yeah. No, Vincent said it.
Okay.
But yeah.
It was interesting. It was interesting to see him that way because all this time he has been so, even keel.
Yeah, he's the choir boy.
And
he even looks like the choir boy.
It's like, okay, so Virginia is having some influence already. Yet he caught it.
Yeah.
When he sobered up and they had their conversation and he was like, this is not me. Yeah. I don't do this anymore and I can't do this anymore. Yeah. Whereas she's like, well, hey, this is what I do. I get together with my friends Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we drink. And he made a point that is very, it's a common thought for people who get married, who've been single, whether long or short, and get married and kind of just feel like I'm integrating my single lifestyle into marriage, but I'm still going to
into our coupleness.
Yeah.
Because marriage supersedes everything.
And his point is you're married now. You're not single.
Exactly.
And while marriage doesn't erase some of your lifestyle or how it doesn't erase your fun and your friends and things like, but it does change how often, how long.
It changes your priorities.
It's supposed to change your priorities.
Right. That's it.
And she is
her friends,
a youngster. She's 12.
Yeah.
She's 12.
That's my turn.
She acts 12.
Yeah.
And
she talks too much.
And you said that all night tonight. She talks too much.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that in a minute. But yeah, she talks too much.
Yeah.
And that goes along with being 12. As in, she's got a lot of emotional immaturity that just really displayed itself tonight.
Yeah, whatever comes in the gray matter comes through her lips, which, and again, delivery makes all the difference in the world. How you express something, even when it's concerned, especially when it's concerned, because normally it's a sensitive issue that you're addressing. So if it's a sensitive issue and somebody's on the other side of it receiving what you say, then you should be a little bit more considerate as to how you express it to that individual. Yeah. Otherwise, it totally tunes them out. They don't want to hear from you. And it goes into obvious.
What it went into, which we will address in a minute. Yes. But for Virginia and Erik, we talked about this, I think, last week, the next tip. common values are vital.
Yeah.
And right now, the whole party and drinking
They're
thing is they are not displaying common values with that situation.
True.
And if they can't get on the same page with that, and he's right, you got to compromise and negotiate when you're in a marriage. Then that's going to become a really big issue. Yeah. And then the other thing with them are other togetherness and work and play will keep you bonded. And we talk a lot in that tip about default togetherness. Just being together because you're married. Because you're married, you're going to be living in the same place. You're going to see each other when you come home from work. You're going to eat dinner together probably. You're going to, be in the same living environment together.
Can I say it?
Yes.
That's not quality time. That's default time.
That's default time. It's not intentional.
You're going to be together. Right. What makes that time special? Just because you're together? Not quite. And
so they're right now they're having this discussion of, I love to party and I'm hoping that you can just participate in that with me. And he's like, but I don't do that.
Yeah.
And if he went with her, and didn't drink, I'm not sure how fun that would be.
Really?
But,
it would probably be a turnoff.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that's going to be a huge issue.
Yeah. That
they're really going to have to work through.
So, and there's going to have to be a dramatic change in somebody. And again, being that it's Erik's profession to be alert.
Right.
He's a pilot.
Right.
Hangovers ain't going to work for him.
He can't be a lush and be a pilot.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. So we'll see how that works out. So now, of course, we come to Chris and Paige. But along with the two of them, and they're continuing to work out this issue, the issue became a group issue tonight. And communication was
so erratic.
Yeah.
Because everybody wasn't on the same page. And now I think maybe everybody's heart might have been there.
Well, the girls' hearts were definitely with Paige and wanted to give her support, which Paige needs at this time after finding out about the ex-fiance being pregnant. She needs the support, and the girls have been giving her the support. I don't believe that it was really the girls' place to
confront Chris.
Yeah, and to say what they would have. If it were me, I would have been gone.
I mean, how does that? Okay, Chris is Chris. We know what Chris is. He's all of those things. But how is that going to make him feel when everybody's saying, "I'd have bailed on your butt"?
Yeah.
I mean, that's supposed to make him feel good?
Yeah. That part of things is not their business.
Really?
And he was right about that. Now, I appreciate how he's been open, with the group and, from the beginning, trying to share the issues and all of that. But that did not give them license to begin
giving their opinion
about it.
Yeah.
And so, of course, how they handled it was wrong.
Yeah.
How Chris handled it was wrong.
I
understand his frustration. I understand all of that. And he did well. But when he intentionally decided to make the bus ride back to the hotel hell for everybody, that was immature.
Very.
That was an immature decision because it was intentional.
Right. Because he said he was going to make it.
That was planned. And then, again, when they got to dinner and he apologized to everybody, to Paige publicly and to everybody else.
He apologized to the whole dinner table.
Yeah.
But it just so happens that the people
who needed to hear it
the most were late.
As usual. And then came to the table to begin drama.
Yeah, whether they realized it or not. And it's not saying that they were not to be forthright in how they felt. But if they would have been there on time, they would have heard the apology that he expressed to everyone, and especially his wife.
Yeah, Eric's wife, to Virginia.
You
mean to Paige, right? But but the apology to everybody else. But Virginia still had attitude about what had happened earlier.
When she came there and said, "I need a shot." First off, girlfriends are lush. That's the bottom line.
And he told him that.
And then he offered one for Paige. Paige, you want one?
Yeah.
Now, if that and girlfriend Clara was like, "Why would you poke the bear? Why?"
Exactly.
Because he's sensitive about it, and you're gonna circumvent him. They're standing right there together. You're gonna circumvent him, and you're gonna go at her, and say, "Hey, let's have a drink because we need one."
Yeah. And again, emotional immaturity, and so he was very right in saying, you're going to talk to me about setting boundaries, but your wife has no boundaries.
Yeah.
And you have no boundaries about what you choose to say, and how you choose to come at me. So I can't fault Chris for, his feelings about how Erik and Virginia were really, interjecting themselves.
Because he had just apologized. So he had brought the volume down considerably where they were about to enjoy their evening.
Yeah.
To whatever degree that they could. Because again, he had done what he needed to do to make sure that their issues were not the focal point of everybody else's evening.
Right.
And everybody else was fine with it.
And Erik did not necessarily instigate a lot of stuff. I mean, his choice of words when he was drunk, to man up, he, Chris could have just, chalked that up to
being drunk.
He's drunk. So.
Because he recognized it.
Yeah. But he was trying to, Erik, trying to take up for his wife, even though she was out of line.
Yeah.
And I like how Clara also apologized to him. During that, about how she came at him.
Right.
But then when it went south and he jumped up and you were like, what did he jump up for? I said, to posture.
Yeah, I mean because
it's about posture.
Virginia stood up to say that she was leaving.
Yeah, they were gonna go.
Come on, let's go. And so he stood up too, and
which was the right thing to do.
Yeah, because because they had brought it. So if they were to be excused from it, then who knows? Maybe they could have had a pleasant evening. The other four couples. But when she stood up, and along with Erik saying to speak to my wife, you're gonna have to go through me. Now, for the choir boy, yes. You would have to talk to me first if you want to talk to my wife. But to the Chicago urchin, whether he thinks he's from the street or whatever, I think that's a facade.
With the street rules.
Yeah. He automatically stood up. The only one that stood up before he stood up was Virginia. So what, he going to stand up because she stood up? They was going to do something?
Yeah, no. It was all a posturing thing.
Yeah, and then,
which was unnecessary.
And I guess that really was a way in which he could escape from the situation. It made it real easy because he wasn't really trying to get around Vincent.
Right.
Vincent was just leaning on him to move him back and move him away. Which, being supportive, I think that was the best thing Vince could have done. And I commend him for it. That because again, everybody could have said, hey, I'm staying in my corner, I'm staying in my lane.
Yeah.
But again, he was supportive because he came to him, Chris came to him when the whole issue first jumped off.
For his support.
Right. Vince was the one he spoke with. So Vince to, return the favor and be in Chris's corner to support him, just to move him away from the situation. Look, we don't need to make this any worse than it already is. So But
so
again,
so
it's
the lesson for me in that whole thing, and again, it goes back to the fact that loyalty is to your marriage and to your family, as in your immediate family, your children. When you bring other people into differences that you're having, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your best friend, you know, and especially when you tend to talk from your perspective only, and you know, and it makes it sound like it's the other person's fault completely. People are going to take sides. That's the bottom line. People are going to take sides. There is no real friendship built up between these couples.
True.
The only thing they have in common is that they're all going through the same experience
process
at the same time.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you needed the support. Paige needs the support. Chris needs the support. But you have to understand that when you bring people into it, then you start getting all these different opinions, and
it dilutes the focus.
Yeah,
because it takes it off
and
in
it becomes
different
messy, and it
does.
became messy
It did.
between the couples. And then it ended with Chris and Paige. Again, you don't know where he's being genuine and when he's saying what he knows he needs to say to make her feel good. And it's hard to watch because, you know, we can't pass judgment on whether or not what he's saying is genuine. But you can try to put what he says with the behavior.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's so kind of matter of fact about the conversations he's had with the ex, and she's like, I'm your wife. Why wouldn't you? Well, you're not asking me about that. You just asked me about this. So basically, I'm going to tell you only what you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to divulge anything else unless you happen to ask me that question. And that is not the proper way to be dealing with mess that you created.
Really?
She hasn't created any mess.
So, I mean, you need to make her feel comfortable that she's part of this relationship still. Because if you're still in between your own ears, you're leaving it up to the other individual that's supposed to mean so much to you to come
You're
up with
number
their
one.
own
You
conclusions.
matter over everyone. My parents, my baby, you matter. And she's not feeling like she matters.
Because you're not giving her anything that does matter.
Yeah, so right now, I'm like, Paige, you need to, when you get back home, you need to go over there. For me, you need to separate.
You need to go now.
To let him
handle his
figure
business.
out his mess.
It ain't even figuring out. For the simple fact that he's so twisted because he created this situation. He's a pretzel. He is truly twisted because, first off, this was a fiance less than a year ago. Now you having a kid by her.
And you still love her,
and
as he said tonight.
And you have had thoughts in your mind.
No, conversation.
First going from having some other man raise your child. Okay, I understand that. To
parenting together.
Yeah. To parenting together.
What will that look like?
What will that look like?
Do we get back together and do it?
And these are his words that Paige is hearing. His wife. So, okay, you went from, okay, and again, just from hearing it, okay, I'm looking to considering being a stepmom, although you don't want to take care of my dog. But then we go to you really having a relationship with this woman who is your ex, to the point where you even said you thought about what it would be like to get back with her.
Too much.
I'm like...
Too much. And he needs to figure it out without her around.
As far as I'm concerned, he figured it out for her.
Yeah. And I understand that she's... Wait, and then to tell her that I'm spiritually attracted to you because she prayed over him, and that was great. Because, They need some Jesus in this situation right now. He needs Jesus in a lot of his situations.
Yeah, well, he wasn't thinking about Jesus.
You know, and he admitted, I haven't been a man of God as much as he talks about the Bible and God and living according to the Bible. He admitted that as well. So, you know, this is just, in Paige's situation, trying to honor her vows, which she's been doing, I would need him to decide without me how he's going to honor his, or if he's going to honor his.
Yeah. Because he's got some things he's got to straighten out.
Yeah. And there's too much back and forth with him, which keeps her in a state of uncertainty and stress. Yes. Just confusion, uncertainty, and stress. And she wants this to work. And she don't need that.
And her emotions should not be what drives her at this point.
So hopefully, as we said last week, we would have gone straight to the experts the moment we found out. Hopefully when she gets home, that's what she's going to do. And really get some expert support, even though I'm still mad at them and the producers for even creating this situation. And there's been talk that the experts did not have anything to do with, did not know any of this. And I still feel like they should have vetted a little bit more closely. But hey, anyway, that's kind of water under the bridge. Yes. And we could keep talking about this forever. But we've gone way over time.
Yes, we have.
And we're just going to leave it right here.
Yeah, we have to.
And see what happens next week. And we hope that you will be back to hear what happens next week from our perspective. Until then...
I just hope we have some more positive things to talk about.
Man, I'm telling you what. I'm kind of tired of talking about Chris and that whole situation. But it's just taken over the show. But until then, till next week, we're going to leave it alone. We hope that you stay safe.
And enjoy.
Peace.